What's going on, guys? You are welcome to this incredible tutorial. Today we are going to rebuild our contact saving app. So ever since we built this app, we have learned a couple of new things and we are going to incorporate everything into this app. We are going to build it from scratch using the arrow function. So we'll be using our knowledge in arrow functions. We will also take a look at conditions where we will check whether the contact is already added. If the contact is already added, there is no need to add it again. Alright, so that will be what we will be doing in this lesson. I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Alright, so I'll move my cursor here and then split my console into two, and I will create my empty array and call it contact list and assign it to an empty array and then run. Great. So I'll create my first function, which is to add a new contact, and what this function is going to do is simple. It will check whether the contact has already been saved, and if it has been saved, we will not save it again, but if it has not been saved, then we can save it. So I'll create my arrow function and call this one add contact. Bring my bracket, I'll take the name and then the email as we did in the previous one. I'll bring my arrow and then my curly bracket. So I will first of all check through the contact list to see if I can find the name variable. Okay, so I will say let contact equal to, I'll call my contact list dot and use the find method to find the first element that matches the description. So I'll say contact, bring my arrow and then say contact dot name is equal to name. That's the one we will pass as an argument when we are invoking the function. So I'll begin with my condition and I'll say if contact return contact has already been added, else I'll just push it into the array. Okay, so I'll just call the contact list push into brackets. By the way, I'll create a new contact. Okay, so I'll say let new contact equal to, bring my curly bracket and then say name comma and then email. If you learned from the previous one, we said that when the key value are bearing the same name, we just pick one and then we are fine. Okay, so I'll just push my new contact in here. Alright, and afterwards I will return the contact list. Great. So I'll just click here to structure it very nicely, and then I will explain to you once again what this function is going to do. So first of all, we have a function called add contact. We are using the arrow function and it takes two parameters, the name and the email. So what we are doing is simple. We will use the find method to find out whether the contact has already been saved. So we are using the name as the condition to find out whether we will find a contact that matches the name. And then we have, it should be name. So we have assigned it to contact, and we are saying that if contact exists, if it is not undefined, it means that we found something with this expression. Okay, so if we find something, it means that the contact is already stored, so there will be no need to store it again. Otherwise, we will create a new contact and then push it to the contact list. Alright, afterwards we will now return the contact. So when I run this function like this and then I call add contact, let's set the name to John Snow and then bring my comma and then the email, set it to John Snow at hbo.got and then run. Okay, there is something wrong, it's not defined. Let's copy the function and then take a look at it one more time. So I paste this one here and I'll say new contact. Oh, sorry, case sensitivity that we have been talking about in JavaScript. So make sure that the spellings are the same, right? So I'll run something wrong redeclaration, of course, because we are using comments. So I'll say add new contact. Okay, so let me clear this one. No worries, the contact list variable is still available. So I'll run now. Everything is all right. I'll clear everything and then call my add new contact, and then I'll set the name to John Snow, and then set the email to johnsnow@hbo.got, and then run. So as you can see, a new item has been added to the contact list array. Perfect. Now let's try to run the same function again and see what happens. Now when I run, it tells me that contact has already been added, right? Great. So let's try a different name this time around. Let's try Tyrion Lannister, and then let's set the email to the little lion and then run. So when we run, it has been added. Okay, then if I try to run again, it will tell me that contact has already been added. It's cool, right? Great. Now we are moving on to delete contact from the contact list. Okay, and this one will take only one parameter. So I'll clear everything and I'll say const delete contact and assign it to, by the way, if there is only one parameter, then the parenthesis is not necessary. I'll bring this and then do this. So what I'm going to do is simple. I'm going to find out whether the contact exists. If the contact does not exist, then we can't delete it, but if it exists, then we will look for it and then delete it. Okay, so I will say let contact equal to contact list like this dot find. As again, we use the find method and we are looking for contact. We bring my arrow and then I will say contact dot name should be equal to the name that we pass as argument when we are invoking the function. Now the condition comes in. I will say if contact, then we can go ahead and delete it, but let's work with the else block first. So I'll say else return contact does not exist. All right, now let's try to return more than one thing. So I will bring a curly bracket and then bring a comma and then also return the contact list. All right, so in here what I'm going to do is very simple. If the contact list exists, I'm going to delete it. All right, so I will use the filter method. I'll just simply say contact list like this equal to contact list dot filter like this, and I'll say contact and bring my arrow and then I'll say contact dot name not equal to the name like this. So let me take my time and walk you through this code, what it does. So we have a function called delete contact and it takes one parameter, and what we are doing is that we are going to find out whether the contact exists by checking through all the contact information we have in the contact list array. If we find something, it means that that contact exists. We use the filter method to return any contact that does not have the name that we pass as argument when invoking the function. But then if we do not find anything here, then we will run what is in the else, and what we are going to do is very simple. We will return this statement and the contact list. By the way, let me also return the contact list from here. Return contact list. Okay, let me try and bring out multiple things. I'll say contact has been deleted. I'll bring my comma and then I'll return my contact list like this. All right, great. So in this moment we are returning more than one thing, and if you are returning more than one thing, you put them in curly bracket and separate each thing by a comma. Right, great. So let's run. I ran this, something wrong. It says missing after property ID. What's going on here? Let's see. Let contact equal to contact list dot find contact. Okay, nothing wrong with this one. Let's come here. Contact list equal to contact list. Nothing wrong with this one too. Then in the else, nothing wrong with this one. Okay, so no, let's try and then return only one thing and see what happens. I'll just return the statement. And don't forget, we have to change the name. Okay, so I'll say 1. Let me add 1 to it so that at least there will be some modification, and then run. All right, so everything is all right. I think the problem was with we trying to return more than one value using the return keyword. Okay, I don't know, it works, but I don't know why this browser is giving us this error, by the way. So I'll just clear everything and then I'll call my delete contact 1 like this, and into bracket let's try and delete something that does not exist. Okay, so by the way, let's try and then call our contact list to see what we have in it. So I run and I have Jon Snow and then Tyrion Lannister. Okay, so let me try and then delete something that does not exist. Let's begin with, let's say, Sansa, Stark, and then run. We will tell us that contact does not exist. But if I try Jon Snow and run, contact has been deleted. So if I call contact list again and run, it is now returning only one thing, and then Jon Snow is nowhere to be found. It's cool, right? All right, great. Now let's try and then call the add new contact once again and then add a couple of things. So I'll say add new contact like this, and I will add the Jon Snow back, and my email will be jonsnow@hbo.got, and then I'll run and it will be added. Let's try Arya Stark. Let's make this one capital and then set this one to hero@winterfell.north and then run. So now we have 3 contacts in our contact list array. Okay, now we are moving on to the last aspect, that is modifying an existing array. This is something we didn't do in the previous lesson, modifying a contact in our contact list array. Now this is going to be pretty interesting, so pay attention to what is about to happen. I'll create a function called modify contact. So const modify contact, and this will take 2 parameters. One will be the name and then the second one will be the new name, right? So I'll say name and then comma new name. Okay, I'll bring my arrow and then my curly bracket. So the first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to check whether the contact we are looking for is in the array. So as usual, we will create our let contact equal to contact list dot find. Using our find method, I'll call my callback function, and I'll say contact dot name equal to name, like this. So I'll bring my condition and I'll say if into brackets name, that is if it exists. Okay, if it does not exist, I will just return contact does not exist. So now back to the if block, that is when the contact exists. Don't forget it's supposed to be contact, not name. So I'll bring my contact here, and what I'm going to do is very simple. Just going to change it. All right, I'll use the spread operator. All right, we can also use the dot or bracket notation. So let's do all the three, and then after rest we'll choose one. So the first way of doing this is to say contact dot name equal to new name. All right, let me comment it out. We can also use the bracket notation, and we will say contact, bring our bracket, and then I will type name here and then reassign it to new name. All right, let me also comment this one out, and finally say contact equal to, bring my curly bracket, spread my contact like this, and then I'll set the name to new name. Okay, now the contact will be updated, but it will not show until we add it. All right, so what we are going to do next is that we are going to filter the array and return all the contacts that do not match the name that we pass as our argument when invoking the function. So let's do that. I will say contact list equal to contact list dot filter into bracket all contacts name equal to name. Okay, let me structure it nicely. Okay, so like this. Then afterwards I will call the contact list again and then push into bracket the contact which has now been modified. All right, and afterwards I'll return contact list. Good. So let's run and see. By the way, before I run this function, let me take a moment to walk you through it one more time. So we have a function called the modify contact, and it has two parameters. What we are going to do is that we are going to find out whether there is a contact in our contact list that bears the name that we will pass as our argument when invoking the function. If there is a contact like that, it will be assigned to this variable called contact. Afterwards, we will check to see if the contact is not undefined. If it is not undefined, then it means that this find method found something that matches the name and it has been assigned to the contact. What we are going to do is that we are going to modify the contact name, and there are three ways of doing it. We can use the dot notation, the bracket notation, or the spread operator. Okay, so if we are using the dot notation, we just call the contact dot property that we wish to change and then assign it to a new value. So that is what we did in this line. Then when we are using the bracket, this is how we do it. And finally, when we are using the spread operator too, this is how we do it. All right, great. So after that, we will call the contact list and then reassign it to a filter method that returns all the contacts except the one that matches the name. Then when we get that array, we will now push the contact, which is the modified one. We will now push it to it and then return the contact list. If this method finds nothing, it means that this contact is undefined, and it will run the code in the else block and return contact does not exist. Okay, So let me run this function. Everything is all right, and I will clear this one and call my modify contact. So let me just copy Jon Snow from here and paste it here, and then I will change his name to Aegon Targaryen and then run. So if I run, let's see what happens. Something wrong. Let's copy this code once again and then see what is going on. Okay, I see. The reason why we are getting this feedback is because we said that you should return an array of contact list that matches the name. Okay, so this one was supposed to be not equal to. Don't forget, it should be not equal to. And because we are using the const, we have to modify this one. So I will say modify contact one and then run. Okay, so when I clear everything and then say modify contact one and modify, let's say, Jon Snow, and then change it to White Wolf and run. Okay, so when I expand this one, I'll get my Aegon Targaryen Jon Snow and then White Wolf Jon Snow. Alright guys, so that will be the end for this tutorial. I hope you learned a couple of things. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you learn a thing or two. I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, peace out.